busy day. Want to play a bunch of different things. So let's just jump into it, huh? So this is a viewer submission, but we've also seen variation of this archetype post some fringe results in a couple of different things. There's a few different directions I've seen these modern elementals decks go. I've seen this build that's playing Ephemerate alongside a ton of Subtlety, Solitudes, and Furies. There's a build ramping with Utopia Sprawl and playing Titania at the top end. I've even seen some Aether Vial builds floating around, so this is the one that was submitted. It seems kind of neat. Something that's particularly neat is Risen Reef alongside of these various pitch elementals, so Solitude, Fury, Subtlety, and Endurance, because if you pitch a card to one of these cards, these are elementals when they come into play. So they draw a card with Risen Reef. So Risen Reef kind of mitigates the 2-for-1 aspect of using these elementals as free spells. And then, God forbid, you should have an Ephemerate to pair with it. You get to go ahead and, put a Solitude into play, exile a thing, draw a card, Ephemerate the Solitude, draw a card with Risen Reef, exile another thing. So seems like there's some powerful synergies here. So my one question in my mind is, are these free effects enough to keep up with how aggressive Modern can be on average? And you'll see here I've kind of rearranged the curve a little bit, because I think what the printed converted mana cost is in the corner of these cards doesn't really do justice to what the curve of this deck looked like. So if we consider these to be like 1 mana or free spells, the curve of our deck actually looks pretty reasonable for a Modern deck. So let's go ahead and dive on into a league here with this one and see how it goes today. Quarth, thank you for the 3 entire years of support. It's a long time. Thanks for sticking around. Welcome back. Orburodoro, thank you for the over 3 years, 39 months. Good morning, good morning. We had Godlike Oreo checking in before I popped on fully live. Welcome back for the 11. Ryushi Roby, thanks for the 3rd of a year. Good morning, good morning. For people that are just joining us, if you did not see, Standard 2022 had a banning yesterday. There's a short ban list reaction video up on the YouTube channel. It's like 4 minutes long. It's very... I would say it's concise and to the point, but there's like 2 minutes of snark and 2 minutes of content. But the snark is funny, I promise. What's going on, Lambton? Thanks for the tier 3. Thanks for the 10 months. Man, my kids start school again in like less than 6 weeks. It's kind of wild. I blinked and the summer disappeared. Yeah, Drax, their ban decision of Book of the Exalted Deeds like necessitated snark, I feel. I would love to play first. Oh yeah, and we're using the Orphanguard here for its original intended print and purpose, as opposed to just getting a free 3-2 inside of, as opposed to just getting a free 3-2 inside of a control deck. Seeing good enough. Or a dog. Thanks for hanging out for the spreadsheet magic, and thanks for keeping me around. I appreciate the tier 3, and I appreciate the 37 months. We're on the play. I keep this. Hopefully whatever they're playing, this is meaningful interaction against. Got a block or 2. High 5 from Ryan. Thanks for the 14 months. Welcome back. Well, I guess that's fair. To be fair, this was originally printed as a 3 mana Elemental Lord. Nobody can actually play these companions as they were originally intended, right? Those ain't what she used to be. What's going on, Rip in Peace? Let's get you a sword to go with that shield. Thanks for the entire year. Verdant Catacombs. No, what's it called here? Yikes. You know what Utopia Sprawl on red means, chat? It means my 5-color deck's about to get Blood Mooned. Can our deck... Alright, I'm gonna wait and confirm that they're a Blood Moon deck, but if they're a Blood Moon deck, I might just move on to the next match. My 5-color creature deck isn't without... My 5-color creature deck without Aether Vial is just not gonna beat a pile of Blood Moons. Unsettled Mariner stops turn 2 Stone Rain, though, so we've got that going for us, I suppose. Alright, they could just be something kind of mid-rangey. We'll see. We'll see. Continue naming elementals here. Honestly, having your companion that pitches to things is super notable. Like, the amount of times we would draw Yorion and Kiki just to pitch to a Solitude's like non-zero. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4. They have 5 mana if they have a land for the turn. So they're gonna massacre my boys here. So I assume they're gonna pay all 4 and kill both my things. Wait, what? Oh, no, yeah, they paid it. Got it. Okay. So, I mean, like, this is technically a tempo even play, right? They spent 2 cards, and they spent 4 mana to kill my 2 cards that I spent 4 mana on. So, like, all things considered, that exchange was, like, not terrible for us. They can in fact begin Stone Raining now. I think I want to just get Omnath down while I have 4 lands available. They notably missed their 3rd land drop here. So they're still going to have 4 mana this turn with the Klothys tagging Verdant if they want it. Which they do. Bloodbraid Elf and Blood Moon. You know, we might actually... They were slow enough on this, and our hand is double Fury. They might actually win this game. Thanks, Cajun guy. I try. And I suppose... Suppose we could draw this to pitch to this still, right? This thing has double strike. I have 2 3/3 double strikers coming up. I put the decks in the stream title again. I did put the decks in the stream title today because I knew what I was playing. A lot of the days I don't have the decks picked out in advance. If I don't have donation decks for everything that we're doing, I just kind of fly by the seat of it. But I had things put together for today. I knew what we wanted to do. Yeah, I decided to what's the word I'm searching for? I decided I was going to be done with Biomutant because try as I might, I just wasn't finding it particularly enjoyable. So we're gonna start Last of Us, the first one, as our variety segment at the end of today. For good things about that one. Alright, so play another copy of Fury, crack you for 10. Good stuff, good stuff. Alright, so you obviously want another Fury. Foundation Breaker can kill Blood Moon. Honestly, I probably want most of these freebies, huh? How do I wanna approach this? Do I want all of the free spells? What do I not want? So I have basic plains, basic forest. So I want to prioritize fetching basic forest in these post-board games because Foundation Breaker casts off of that to destroy Blood Moon. Sideboard to 80 cards to add a Yorion, right? I'd probably rather have cards that play to the board than something like Subtlety. And I think I want Fulminator Mage just based on the fact that it casts while they have a Blood Moon in play. Yeah, trimming voice seems fine. Maybe I don't want these larks at the top end. It does pitch to Fury. That's true. I probably want to cast this card, though. Do I want to cut 4-color Omnath? I guess this is pretty hard to cast while they have their thing out, huh? Maybe I'd rather have Lark than Omnath. Because Lark casts off of a... Lark casts off of a single white. Lark gets picked... I mean, Lark's just like a 4/3 flying creature that casts off of our single basic. So like there's value in using Lark for that reason. Yeah, I'm gonna trim the Temur Omnath actually because they're both hard to cast under Blood Moon. I would love to put my Orphanguard out. This hand's so close to great, chat. It's so close to great. I think we got a mulligan though, right? No second land against the Ponza deck. Yeah, this is good. We'll keep this. I'm gonna bottom the Fury here, actually. I'm gonna bottom the Fury. As always, if you'd like to recommend cards you think we should be playing, feel free to tell me what problem your card suggestion solves, what we should cut, why we should cut it. So leading on the fetch land here, because if they Blood Moon on 2, I want to fetch basic forest in response. And if they can't Stone Rain a fetch land, we just fetch in response. Yeah, if Thunderkin Awakener could, like, return things like Foundation Breaker and Solitude to play, it might be okay, but it would basically just get back Risen Reef in this deck. Mean Bean, thanks for the 19 months. Good morning, good morning. It's named Red again, I'm assuming. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Another fetch land is honestly an incredible draw. Let's play that out here. Especially now that we can fetch both of our basics if we want to. And they've got double sprawl here. So honestly, my play next turn might be like Foundation Breaker, Ephemerate, Foundation Breaker, kill both your sprawls. I could also Solitude. Do I want to just Solitude, Ephemerate, Solitude here? And just like exile their board? What do we think of that? Camboni, thanks for the 2.5 years. Welcome back. I'm kind of into the Solitude line. Yeah, it leaves us with a 3/2 lifelinker as well. You could have Fury. Fury's not an Fury doesn't have flash. So they could Fury this post-combat, but they can't disrupt me exiling their board. So nothing to rebound here. I'm going to go ahead and attack for 3. And then honestly, I think we just play Risen Reef, right? Fetch basic forest. Play Steam Vents, play Risen Reef. I'll play Cavern. Yeah, the black and red ones don't have flash. 3 of the 5 do. And then we can cast Foundation Breaker and keep it next turn. Danny G, thanks for the 2 months. Welcome back. Good morning, good morning. Yeah, grief with flash sounds truly disgusting. Disgusting. I've been not sane. Thanks for the 17 months. I'm glad you enjoy the YouTube stuff. Welcome back. Oh, was that a good one? Doesn't really matter which way we stack these. Okay, and then we'll play this and gain some life. It's a pretty good draw. Ephemerating elementals while Risen Reef is in play seems truly disgusting. Okay. I assume this is going to kill Omnath. Yep. Yeah, I think Breaker Ephemerate to beat up their mana sounds like a good plan. I think we could put them on not having Lightning Bolt because they haven't killed our Risen Reef. Oh, I also could have played Unsettled Mariner first here, right? Yeah, I should have done that. Because I'm going to Ephemerate this. I'm going to say no on this because I haven't played a land from hand yet. I don't know. Oh, the what's it called deck? Yeah, you're talking about the Warp World deck that puts a bunch of elemental things into play. I haven't played with it, but I've played against it. Zowler, thanks for the 18 months. Man. Come along. Oh, I meant to put that into play. Awkward. Come along with me on my trip to Value Town, chat. The Value train is leaving the station. Toot toot, all aboard. I've got an Ephemerate in exile here right now that's going to rebound next turn. Not that you'd know which of these is currently rebounded and which one isn't, but one of these is currently rebounded. So we'll get to blink the Solitude, exile the Seasoned Pyromancer here in a second. Draw a card from Risen Reef. You know, no big deal. Yeah, eventually we'll get to play and cast this, but I've got plenty of other stuff I'm doing in the meantime. Nice! Solid lightning bolt. GG! Alright, we actually beat the Blood Moon deck. Look at that. Sometimes I don't have Blood Moon on time. Weird. Weird. Coolio! Thanks for the 5 months. Welcome back. Won't you take me to Value Town? Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Dee 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 dee. That worked out. That worked out quite well. I have never played The Last of Us, no. I've talked about this on stream before, but like, before I started doing variety games on stream at the end of last year, I basically hadn't played any non-card game games in the last, like, decade and a half. So I'm, like, slowly catching up on a backlog of things that have come out that are good over the last 5 years or so. This seems fine. I guess I can't cast the Ephemerate's a little awkward. Needs an actual factual white source, not just an elemental white source. One actual factual white source, thank you. Cavern of Souls. Are you a counterspell deck opponent? Some Bant mana here. Just an Ice Fang Cuddle, sure. Now, I'm not a big fan of Retrograde Silence. Like, BioShock Remasters is about as old as I get. Modern video games are much better than old video games, in my opinion. You name one with this? It means I don't have to worry about Path to Exile. Sure. You know, it's funny. I was just thinking maybe I Harbinger for Omnath. Now I don't know who I go get yet. We're definitely casting this turn. Calling BioShock Retro just AG. So BioShock, so it's not what I said, I explicitly used BioShock as a reference of things that aren't retro. For reference. I said, BioShock, like the remasters are the oldest I get. I don't care for retro games. Is it Risen Reef? And just start drawing a bunch of cards? It could also just be like another white card to pitch to Solitude, and then we like Solitude the Sanctum Prelate, Ephemerate the Solitude, get rid of something else. My opponent's deck doesn't seem to be particularly fast though, so it's probably just Risen Reef. It's probably just Risen Reef. Doesn't seem to be going very fast or very far. Linkin Park is classic rock, however. Chad, it's 2021. Linkin Park is definitely classic rock. Final Fantasy X is 20 years old. Yeah, a couple people asked me if I wanted to try some of the older Final Fantasies after enjoying FF7R, but I liked FF7R in part because it's pretty. Story was good too, but like the game is visually stunning. And I think we just lead on... We lead on Risen Reef here. And so I am shocking myself to play this Risen Reef. So that way if they go to kill my Risen Reef, I can Solitude pitch Omnath. Actually, do I just like massacre their board here? Who's in for Solitude pitch Omnath, Ephemerate Sanctum Prelate, Ephemerate Solitude? And then I can attack for 3, and then we'll blink the Solitude the following turn. The problem with that is they could be a sweeper deck, but I'm going to need to draw 2 cards doing that, right? I don't know. The thing I found is that a lot of gamers look at their old games through rose-tinted glasses. And as someone who's played mostly modern video games in recent memory, like when people recommend things like Kingdom Hearts and they say it's great even though it's old, like, you're wrong that it's great. Like, you might nostalgically look at that game and think that it's fine through your nostalgia lens, but the reality is that, like, modern game systems have far surpassed what that was doing. It was probably great when it released, but, like, games have learned a lot in the last 20 years. Even in the last 5 years, I feel like games have learned a lot. Like, playing the original BioShock, I keep clicking no instead of... Why? Okay, so here's the thing. This is one of the most frustrating things about Magic Online, is the lack of consistency through their user interfaces. To put the land into play off of Risen Reef, it's not a yes, put the land into play, no, put it into hand button. It's a click on the land to put it into play, or click no to put it into your hand. The lack of standardization across the prompts in this application is so frustrating. Yeah, I believe you that, like, the stories in those older games hold up, but as someone who's, like, played a lot of things recently, from a game design perspective, the mechanics in them often tend to be very bad, because we've learned a lot about how to design games the last 5 to 10 years. All right, so I don't know really what my opponent is doing. They have a bunch of tiny poopers, so I'm going to bring in the extra copy of Fury. They might be grindy, so I'm going to bring in the Lark. Subtlety and Endurance don't seem particularly exciting. This could be a matchup where I want Foundation Breaker. I could also see maybe they're more controlling and I want these Fulminator Mages. They have a bunch of snow stuff, so like what are the Bant snow payoffs in this format that I'm not thinking of? What are the snow payoffs? On Thin Ice. So on Thin Ice is usually going on basic land, so Fulminator's not good there, but that makes Foundation Breaker decent, right? Do I want more Foundation Breakers? Is Foundation Breaker better than any of these other cards already in my deck? Probably not. They played their what's it called on one, so are they gonna be targeting my stuff that much? Maybe we cut the Mariners and we bring in the Foundation Breakers to kill their on Thin Ices. Oh, they're probably a Stoneforge deck. Yeah, I'm gonna bring in the Foundation Breakers and cut 2 Mariners here. We can always reassess if there's a game 3 and we lose this one. Hands is fine. It's very pretty birds. Well, we'll lead Windswept Heath since we drew Ephemerate. Yep. Want a white source of some sort here. Doesn't really matter which. We'll lead on Mariner since it makes Teferi have to pay a mana to bounce him. But the tempo loss of being on the draw against a turn 2 Time Raveler is like really huge here. Waiting for the opponent to click OK because they're doing something else while we play. Elemental. Does Raveler stop Ephemerate's rebound trigger? So the easiest way to ask yourself, does Teferi Time Raveler stop something from happening, is you ask yourself the question, is the thing you're asking about fun? And if the answer is yes, then yes, Teferi Time Raveler stomps it. So I would say that rebounding my spell is fun. So Teferi definitely stops me from rebounding my spell. This is, I would say, definitely one of the drawbacks to playing this particular build that we're playing right now, which is that, come on, one copy of Fury off the top. One copy of Fury off the top. Daddy needs a Fury, chat. Daddy is very angry with this board, and he just needs to expel his righteous fury upon it. Come on! 4 out of 50. Hit me, dealer. Another copy of Solitude. Blarg. So, we're definitely playing this. Do I just plow the Stoneforge Mystic? I guess they're only 5 mana, or they're only 2 mana off of hard casting this. So I think I'm just gonna pass here. So, like, I can just take a hit from Kaldra for the turn, and then Solitude the Kaldra token. Right? And then, like, they have the equipment in play that's not doing a whole lot. Fury. Okay, I mean, like, if I squint a little bit, that's a copy of Fury. Oh, I messed up. I should have... Oh, they don't have Death Touch on their Viper yet, right? I should have played Voice of Resurgence before attacking. I'm playing 4 of both, Necker. There's 4 Solitude in the main, but there's a 4th. There's 4 of all of the pitch elementals except the black one in this deck. And then... Do I just, like, get rid of this token? I think so, right? So we have a Fury on top of our deck, thanks to Flamekin Harbinger. So next turn, we'll be able to Fury, pitch Omnath, deal 4 to Teferi Time Raveler. And then with the Evoke trigger still on the stack, we'll be able to Ephemerate the Fury, clean up some more of the board. Clean these mana dorks out, so that way the Completant can't equip to anything anytime soon. And we'll have a Double Striker left over. Man, that's brutal. So now I can't keep my Fury around because they've Sanctum Prelated me for 1. Because if I kill the Sanctum Prelate, I still can't Ephemerate because of Teferi. And if I kill the Teferi, I can't Ephemerate because of Sanctum Prelate. Prison cards blow. Feels like we're just kind of dead at this point. I guess we have a couple of turns till we're all dead, but... Second prison piece put us into a very far behind spot. Yeah, Castle Ardenvale. They're only... Now, not only is this a land that does stuff, but, like, they're only one... Alright. Oh, magic. I'd be lying if I didn't say that a big part of what made yesterday's Legacy set feel miserable was Teferi Time Raveler. I played against 2 Teferi Time Raveler decks in a row, on top of them being Brainstorm decks. Just a very miserable experience. Thanks for the 15 months post. Welcome back. It's not amazing, but seems keepable. It took 6 days to ban Book of the Exalted Deeds, but Teferi Time Raveler was legal and standard for 15 months, chat. 15 months! Teferi Time Raveler was legal and standard. It's a heck of fun. If you missed the ban list update yesterday, disappear from the stream for 4 minutes and go watch this. The only thing I'm currently salty about is how long it's taking my opponent to resolve their mulligan. Yeah, I feel like, I just like, that whole announcer is just super tone deaf, right? Like, and it feels, the worst part about that announcement is it makes me feel like I'm taking crazy pills, because this felt bad to play against. If you would have asked me before that was posted yesterday, Jeff, is things that feel bad to play against a core fundamental part of Magic's design? Because Magic lets make people feel miserable so they can be happy? I would have answered you yes. Like, there are so many designs in Modern's Magic design that are about making people feel bad. So it's so strange to me to see that particular one get singled out. I mean, not even, like, fun is subjective, but, like, there are a lot of things that, like, there's so many things in Magic that, like, a majority of people would tell you feel bad to play. And it's like, you're right, you'll never get people to 100% agree, but, like, you could find a lot of people, like, do you like getting, is memory lapse on 2 feel bad to play against? Yes. Most people will tell you yes. Like, the range of, come on, untapped land. Come on, untapped land. All our lands are untapped. Give me a land deck so we can Risen Reef into Fury this draw card. Hit me, dealer. Alright, well. So they drew this. Do I kill this assuming... Do I just kill this assuming they have the Kaldra already in hand? Because, like, if they had the Kaldra in hand, then I don't kill this. I just can't win the game, right? So I think I'm pretty obligated to kill this here. Tokyo Whirlwind, thanks for the 20 months. Welcome back. And honestly, not even going back to their older formats and like talking about like, okay, well, Jeff, they took 15 months to ban Teferi, but maybe this is them turning over a new leaf. And it's like, well, what if we just ignore the fact that like there's an actual standard best of one format where that book combo is still legal? Because the book combo, like, if it's frustrating in the 22 format, it's because there's no sideboards. It shouldn't be legal in any best of one formats, right? That should be the case. That's the confusing part to me. It's like, okay, well, if we determine this card's not okay when there's not sideboards, why is it so legal in the other format where there aren't sideboards? The answer to that question is probably that they didn't want to give out wild cards. Field of Rune's not legal, but there's a few different ways to interact with lands, and there's plenty of ways to interact with artifacts, and there's tons of ways to interact with creatures. Apparently, it's super bad in regular standard. By their own admission, it wasn't competitive or popular in standard 22. So I can tell you anecdotally, it was awful, and I can tell you that looking at tournaments, it had no results, and then by their own admission, it also wasn't good in Standard 22. So, it's not good enough there isn't really a valid response, because it also wasn't good enough in Standard 22. And itch on my back, chat. Ugh. In that spot that I just can't quite reach. It was not good and it was not heavily played. That is correct. Which is like, this is just like, it's just like a good example. Like, people ask me to like predict thing Wizards of the Coast is going to do. It's like, you can't predict it, right? There's no rhyme, reason, or consistency to any of it. Their opponent must be double queued or doing something else while they're playing Magic. We've had a lot of long tanks and spots where there's not a lot going on. Yes, it's exactly that, Stale. It's not even that the ban was bad. It's just that I can't grasp why this is the one they chose to single out as opposed to all the other things they could have been doing. It's kind of funny, like, it's like the other day when I posted my Meta Monday video talking about how Phoenix has had a sustained 60% win rate in best of 3 historic tournaments for going on 2 months now, and should probably have something banned out of it because a 60% win rate is too high. And someone who just like looked right past the point was very upset that I wasn't talking about best of 1 in my best of 3 Meta Monday breakdown. And then they brought up the fact that apparently some decks like Elves and other linear aggro decks have like 60+% win rates according to Untapped and Best of 1. Well, 1, Untapped doesn't have all of the data, so on Wizards backend, those decks might have lower win rates overall when you look at everything. And 2, if those decks really do have 60+% win rates in best of one, they probably should have something banned in best of one. I actually think it's kind of a good thing to have the ban list separated from best of one and best of three, because Magic's a fundamentally different game when there aren't sideboards involved, and things that are unplayable in best of three can be too good in best of one or too obnoxious. I think one of the other comments too is they talked about Book of the Exalted Deeds being a feel bad experience in best of one, so they banned it because there's no sideboard play. Hasn't Tybalt's Trickery been fucking people up in best of one for the better part of a year now? But it's unplayable in best of three because those decks just don't work in best of three when people can sideboard against them. Yeah, Tybalt's Trickery's the perfect, like, okay, we're gonna get rid of things because they feel bad to play against. Like, what's Tybalt's Trickery doing in this format? Why is that still legal? Can we have a conversation about that one? And like, you know, from a win rate perspective, I would say, yeah, the Tybalt's Trickery deck probably isn't very good in best of one, so you can just ignore it and just, like, let it happen. But, like, you kicked the rabbit's nest open, right? Like, you opened Pandora's box. You said you're getting rid of Book of Exalted Deeds because it's frustrating to play against. Tybalt's Trickery is definitely that. Nobody's playing Tybalt's Trickery and having a satisfying game of Magic the Gathering. I really would have liked to have drawn a third. I'm sorry. I feel, and this is one of the people that haven't watched Moto stuff before. We rant and like bullshit a lot more during Moto play because like the rate of play is just so glacial on this client, and there's nothing insightful for me to say here, right? Like, I wish I drew a third land. This game would be a lot better if I could cast my spells. Does my opponent have a spell and they're going to give me a Voice of Resurgence token? Would be banger. So I'm a Solitude this Ice Fang Coddle. And honestly, to strap my jaded or tinfoil hat on for a second, the reason why Book of the Exalted Deeds is different, I'm sure, is because of, oh, chat. Oh, honey. Oh, honey. Goodbye, friends. The reason Book of the Exalted Deeds is different is because they're having trouble programming it, I'm sure. I'm sure the actual answer, I think a number of people hit it on the head, that the thing, and this is again, comes back to the communication and either treating us like we're idiots or wanting to lie to us or not wanting to be transparent, is that the real reason Book of the Exalted Deeds is different than Tybalt's Trickery is the real reason I don't understand, the reason why it's different than Tybalt's Trickery is because they 100% were having people play Book of the Exalted Deed mirror matches, and the client can't detect a draw, and neither of the players were willing or smart enough to concede one game in best of one. So they had these players being miserable because they were too dense and stupid to concede a best of one game and lose a little bit of Magic ladder points rather than hours of their lives. I would bet significant amounts of money there was more than one instance of two Book of the Exalted Deeds player spending for hours being trapped. And by trapped in quotation marks, I mean they willingly chose to not concede because they were fucking stupid. That's what I mean by trapped, just for clarity's sake. Boneless Wings, thank you for the 39 months. Welcome back. There's not a doubt in my mind that ban list update was saving idiots from themselves. That's 100% what it is. They were in a prison in their own mind is a great way to put it. It's funny because like Magic players often fancy themselves smarter than the average population, but there's so many examples of stuff like that, right? Like but it's just like they didn't say that, right? Like they didn't just be like, we're doing this because we can't detect a draw. They lied to us and were like, okay, we're banning this because it's frustrating. No, you didn't. You're banning it because you can't detect a draw in your piece of crap software. That's why you banned it. And I would just have infinitely more respect if there was just like the spade was called the spade and they were like, yeah, this is why it happened. We're getting rid of it because there's a bunch of people that won't scoop mirror matches and we feel bad that they're dumb. All right, you don't have to call your customer dumb, but you could say we're getting rid of it because we can't detect a draw and 2 players not conceding is silly and we want to save them from this. You could be nice about the fact that they aren't very bright. Sometimes pride is all a player has left. That and a token on a land. Isn't loop detection really hard for software though? Okay, in this instance, it's not a loop, Gengar. It's literally just are both players' decks empty? Is there this specific token on both players' boards? If yes, end game and draw. So you're right. Generic loop detection is particularly difficult from a software perspective. This instance, though, does not require generic loop detection. Far, far from it. I disagree, Equitable. Like, one, I think programmatically determining that the game should be a draw in that instance should be fairly trivial to do. It's like a really clean cut if statement. If deck's empty and this counter on both lands. So in paper Magic, both players can declare a game a draw at any point and move on to the next game in their match. So in paper Magic, both players would just concede. Or both players would draw the game, is what would happen. And again, like, I think it's silly to say you can't expect players to concede without losing any advantage. Listen, you're making a conscious choice to give up hours of your time for one match of Magic. And also, let's be brutally honest with ourselves. If the deck is neither popular nor good, you're not exactly asking spiky players to give up their time, right? Like, if you were playing book combo, it's not exactly like you were a tryhard, right? Like, the book combo, by their own admission, wasn't good. Like, they're like, yeah, it was bad. It's not a big deal, it's bad. Like, yeah. Alright, so I don't even really need the last trigger on this, so I'm going to hold the fetch land for now, because I don't need to deal damage to them, I don't think. So I'm going to go ahead and do this and gain 4. Well, I guess if I would have held the fetch, I could have gained 4 on their turn. Maybe that was the right play. The problem is I want to play the Reveillark, so if I would have like played the fetch to gain life on their turn, I would have shocked myself in order to gain more later, so I don't actually think that's very good. Our companion is gone. Our companion was drawn and then inquisitioned. Special K, thanks for the 43 months. Welcome back. Monkey. Block like this. I don't mind Omnath dying because I've got another one. I'd like to draw a card to try and find my way to a removal spell of some sort. Solitude or Fury would both be great here. Howdy Wind. Rats. Are we dead? I think we're just dead to this 7/7, right? I really needed a Solitude this game. Their last card is Luris. I guess I could do this and crack this fetch for some mana and play the Foundation Breaker. And then I can crack them. I guess I can crack them for 4 in the air. And like jump block a little. And then play another Omnath to try again next turn. Their last card is Luris. It could still be in this if we Ooh, we're gonna draw an Omnath of their own here. They don't have quad black, so they can't Oh, if they have a fetch land, they can Omnath into Luris plus recast all 3. This also means they're not attacking us for 3 this turn though, which is nice. Or try and grind a little bit. Them choosing to get grindy is ideal for us, I think. I think I'm choosing to jump with this again because I have another one in hand. The Omnath trigger is not a May. That is correct. Yeah, so they're gonna put the land into play here, which gives them white mana, so they can cast Luris off of Swamp plus white mana plus one of the other Omnath mana. And then they can recast Voidwalker from the bin. All right. One of your finest Solitudes, please, deck. I mean, I can cast both of these technically, right? if I cast this one first, I get to draw a card. So I don't get to gain 4, but I get to kill this. And then I get to do this here, I think. Flamekin Harbinger. I'm chump blocking next turn anyways. So are we supposed to Flamekin? Or do we just play the other Omnath? I need to chump block these two. So we can go like this, and then I can hold this for next turn. But like what am I fishing with this? Remember, this puts it on top of my deck, so I'm not drawing it this turn. They're also just at 10. So, like, there's a good chance we just kill them in 2 with this, right? If they don't draw a land or a way to interact with this. Fury does not hit face. Well, now I'm drawing 2 cards, rest in peace. So I drew a card with this one. I drew a card with this one, and now I'm gonna cast this and draw another card. I don't know that Solitude's right. I think I like trying to race them here. It could be wrong. This fetch land means if 4 mana Omnath survives, I can draw 2 cards next turn. So probably want to chump with 4-color Omnath. And keep 3-color Omnath. So Daw3 Voidwalker can play a land here. So they do have some life gain in the tank. I think I'm trading off Foundation Breaker and 4-color Omnath since I have this fetch land in hand. And the Voidwalker didn't attack, so I bet we're going to see Voidwalker play a land here if they don't have a land in hand. Yep. Okay, so this means they drew a spell. So I can draw any elemental in my deck here. It's probably just Solitude, right? Because Solitude will kill both of their Scourge of the Skyclaves. So those go away. They're back up to 20. I'm going to go ahead and crack this fetch. Grab our last fetchable land. Honestly, I'm going to put a counter on Solitude here because we're not really racing them and I want to gain a little bit of life. Nice. And I think we just pump the brakes for a turn, right? We just chill. Because they don't have sweepers. They don't have sweepers. Their Luris is used up. Opponents conceded. Sick. What a wild game. Modern has been so fantastic lately. Just like the average quality of gameplay in this format has just been so incredibly high with Modern Horizons 2. It's just been a lot of fun to play. Alright, so I think I want these Endurances because they block Delver of Secrets and they reset Delirium and they can set I can set Luris back. I think I want all my removal. I want the Larks because they're grindy. Actually, do I want Lark? Like, Lark was okay there as a flyer, but... You know what? Do I cut Voice of Resurgence here, actually? Because, they have Dothri Voidwalker, which gets rid of its death trigger, right? I think that makes it not quite good enough. Like, the couple of copies I think are better than the other cards in my board right now. But, like, not amazing into 4x Dothri Voidwalker. Flamekin Harbinger is also... I'm gonna actually coward split these. This was, like, fine at the end there because we were a little unlucky and hadn't drawn these to, like, search it up. But this is kind of a low-quality card on average. If we draw too many of them, we risk putting ourselves a little bit behind. So I'm gonna coward split these. I definitely think Solitude is the best of this cycle in Modern. This is probably the best one in Legacy, looking at what's going on there, but in this format, Solitude's definitely my favorite. I think it's the most powerful. Get it brought in the land destruction. Binning Terminate against my creature deck probably implies that they don't have a second land. Or they do and they're really looking for a third. Hey, kid, thank you. It did. Sorry I missed that. I appreciate the tip. So I was talking, I don't know if you saw me chatting in the subs Discord and the Gaming General channel, kid. How would you feel about me starting with the second one in... That one has the first 3 in it, right? People in the subs Discord seem to mostly agree that the mechanics in the first one were kind of clunky. And that the second one in the series definitely felt a lot better. They said the stories weren't too closely intertied. Is the Elemental deck a real contender for competitive? Yeah, I think so. In fact, there's a couple different variations of this archetype that we're playing that have been floating around. Oh my gosh, high five from Ryan. I need to put my donation ticker in another spot. When I'm playing Moto, my Moto preview is over it. I missed high five from Ryan's Abzan deck earlier too. I'll get that one added. Yeah, Uncharted is Indiana Jones. So people were saying the gameplay mechanics of People weren't saying, people seemed to pretty much agree that Uncharted 1 had a decent story, but that from a gameplay mechanics perspective, it was much worse than the other two in the original three, even with the remaster. And this is where I would put my 2-mana spell if I had one. Armored Panther, thanks for the 13 months. Welcome back. This is where the magic happens, chat. right here on your screen. Top deck hero. Do 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 do. Boot 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 do. Do 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 do. Endurance, chat. Very good against Delver of Secrets. We'll let the Surveil trigger resolve. And we'll cast this before they can take it away from me. And they won't be attacking this turn now, but it gives us some board presence and resets their crap. So this no longer has Delirium, so it's back to a 1/1. It doesn't have to attack when I take its Delirium away. Man. Their draw this game has actually just been Dragon's Rage Channeler, discard spells, and Mishra's Bubbles. This is their third bubble, and this is their 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th 1-mana discard spell. Their 6th 1-mana discard spell. Okay, so I'm going to play this on Beast. For Macat Beast for next turn. And honestly, I'm just going to go ahead and smack him for 3 here. We're definitely going to be in a position to race here, it feels like, because they did so much damage with Thoughtseize. Aridaz! Thank you for the 11 months. Welcome back. So, I actually decided I'm not going to be finishing Biomutant Kid Martin because the combat was just too clunky. So, I'm going to be starting Last of Us today. We'll probably start Uncharted after that. It's probably a week or two. This is the punish for attacking. They hit me with a monkey. Joke's on you. I couldn't cast that Reveillark anyways. Oh, I didn't need to put this on Beast, right? I had green and white. Whatevs. What time are we doing Last of Us? I'm planning to do some Runeterra today too. So Last of Us will probably start about 2:30, somewhere in there. I'm gonna run a little bit longer than I usually do. We're starting with the first one. Monkey. The combat in Biomutant is incredibly unsatisfying. And very, very unrefined. Just couldn't quite get through it. All right, so let's open on Mariner here. I don't think I want to pitch to play this because I'm only 1 mana off of hardcasting it. No, we're talking about 2 different games. So someone just donated for me to put Uncharted into the list of things I'm going to be playing. But I already have Last of Us queued up. So for the Uncharted series, when we get to that, probably next month, we're going to start with the second one. But Last of Us, we're going to start with the first one. So if they want to trade Monkey here, they have to chump block here, which leaves them with no board, which is pretty good for us. Okay, we drew Lightning Bolt. So Bolt. Oh, man, that's unfortunate. So they hit a land to get Delirium here, so I get to trade with both of my things. I guess we're still pretty far ahead if they trade with both, right? Like, we're up lands, we're up life, we're up board. The Elementals deck seems sweet. My concern when we were going into it was that some of the more aggressive decks in the format would get under you, but we haven't played any aggro matchups. Like, we've queued into a bunch of... The format right now is pretty mid-rangey, which I would assume means a deck like this is pretty decently in a pretty decent spot. Come on, land. Hit me, dealer. Another Mariner. That's fine. This can't block, so... And honestly, the second Mariner here is, like, pretty good. Because it means that they have to pay 2 extra to target my stuff, and they only have 2 lands. So I've got 2 lethal threats that cost 2 extra mana to kill. So they should be dead here, I imagine, right? Yeah. Yeah, our deck has seemed very good into all of these mid-rangey decks. Modern's been very good. If you're someone like me that ducked away from Modern because of what it devolved into, Modern with Modern Horizons 2 is easily Magic's best format right now, in my opinion. It might be Kid Martin. Unsettled Mariner was on the list of cards I had when I talked about Modern Horizons 1 cards I'd like to see in Historic on Arena. Unsettled Mariner is a very sweet design. I love that it slots into so many different tribal strategies. Played my first league in about 2 years last night. Yeah, it's they hit a good. I am looking forward to paper tournaments opening back up consistently and borrowing a Kiki Cord deck to go play in some of those. Where is this list from? So there's this variation of the archetype as well as one with Utopia Sprawls has been floating around. There's like a Renin 6 build with Utopia Sprawls. It's a little rampy. Someone asked LSV yesterday what he thought of Standard 2022, and he said, I haven't enjoyed Standard in 10 years. What a glowing recommendation from one of the faces of your game, Wizards of the Coast. That's a big oof. Like, even I'm not that jaded and pessimistic. Like Standards had some issues, but like, there's a bunch of Standard formats in the last year. Yeah, like that's really weird, right? Like, and I get that it's subjective And Magic, like, yeah, it makes me wonder why people like him even play. I guess he's really into limited, right? That makes sense. He still plays a lot of limited. That's just kind of wild to me though, because like there's been a ton of there's been a number of bad standard formats over the last little bit, but there's also been a lot of really good ones. Yeah, GRN standard is stellar. It could be hyperbole too, yeah. Yeah, so when I was talking about decks that go fast, I'm going to let my opponent pop off once here for the sake of you at home for different folks to see it, but our deck literally has zero counterplay to what our opponent's about to do. No, they are not the Polymorph Turns deck. Colony Garden does not mean that. The Polymorph Turns deck is a base Jeskai deck. Our opponent is playing the Cascade Tomorrow deck. So I'm going to go ahead and let them do their thing here on 3, and if they pop off, I'm going to concede the match after we see it happen. Guilds of Ravnica. Yeah, our deck literally has, so our interactive cards in our deck are Foundation Breaker, Subtlety, Fury, Endurance, and Solitude, and Fulminator Mage, and none of these cards are meaningful interaction. It's what the opponent's doing. GRN standard was Ixalan to Guilds. It was the standard set in the standard format in the fall of 2018, right after standard rotated there. So they cast Glimpse of Tomorrow. Oh, they're playing the more Mimi build. This is actually much better for us because there's a good chance they just brick here. All right, they hit Archon of Cruelty, which we could draw Solitude here. Oh, it doesn't even, this targets. Sick. Okay, so if we draw Solitude, we can play a game of Magic. We get 2 draws in it because of Risen Reef. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Okay, so there's a better variation of this deck there's a better variation of this opponent's archetype that's more mid-rangey and consistent. This opponent's build is something we played on stream, and it's quite bad. It's just trying to high roll people. And its high rolls are not particularly high. Like this is considered a decent hit for them, and it's not particularly good. Droth, thanks for the 5 months. I appreciate it. Welcome back. I almost hit no there because I'm used to clicking over there and saying yes. I've bitched about the Moto interface already, but it's real bad. There should be a yes no prompt, not a click OK or click no to put it in your hand. I think I'm supposed to pass here. I don't really want to trade my Unsettled Mariner for Shardless Agent, I don't think. All right. So they get to flip 6 random cards into play here. Hit me, dealer. All right, and this time they got Progenitus, Gristlebrand, Omniscience, so we're dead. So I guess we'll play this out because the opponent's deck can brick off. They're playing the brick off build. And Solitude could often be okay interaction, but in general here, I'd assume we're dead more often than not. Eat Salt, thanks for the 16 months. Welcome back. What's our best goldfish? Our deck doesn't really have a goldfish. We're a grindy mid-range deck. It's got 2.5 months, man. We're basically just like hoping that our opponent doesn't flip into the crazy things, and if they do flip, that like a Solitude can keep us in the game. But this is, when someone asked me earlier, is this deck competitive? I think that this is almost, I think at best, this is a solid B-list deck. I think if you run into a bunch of decks like we played in the first few rounds, that are mid-rangey decks, you're going to have a really good time. I think you run into faster combo decks where Solitude or Fury aren't meaningful interaction. Decks that aren't creature-based combo are going to give you a bad time. We have 3 different ways that our 4-0s to interact with creatures reasonably. And when those aren't working out, you want Fury plus Ephemerate because it's pressure? I don't hate that. I don't hate that, actually. So, against Amulet Titan, we have Fulminator Mage, Subtlety, and Solitude. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if... what's it called? It's not a terrible matchup, Titan. This had a red card, we could have played a 3/3 double striker on one. Yes, looks pretty reasonable if we could find a red card. That being said, again, like, our opponent's deck does combo kill on turn 3 generally. So the book combo is not banned until the patch Friday morning. So if you were expecting it to be gone already, you didn't pay close enough attention to the announcement. Sorry to hear that is a good neutral response to someone you used to know died, I think, Marty. And I think we just do this better late than never. We just do this on 2. Oh, in historic. Oh, sure. They aren't giving you wild cards for Book of the Exalted, whatever, right? No, of course not. That would be consumer friendly. You can't accidentally have that. Of course, you think Papa Hasbro is just made of money? You think these 1s and 0s on your screen are free for them to give out, chat? What are they going to feed the hamsters that power the servers if they just give you wild cards willy-nilly? Damn millennials and their entitlements. The Pokemon MOBA drops Wednesday. Okay, maybe we'll give that a try. Maybe we'll put that on the calendar. Although I also might wait and watch people play it beforehand. Nintendo isn't exactly known for creating good online user interfaces, so Mewtwo's back in range today. I have a 15, 14, 15 Mewtwo built already. So, I don't expect to be raiding for Mewtwo's. I guess a shiny exists. Maybe we'll do a couple for shinies, but I'm not going to be doing Mewtwo's like I was doing Deoxys's. Hey chat, remember when I said their deck high rolls sometimes and other times it just doesn't do anything? Pepperidge Farm remembers. Okay, good chat, opponent. That's why, like I said, I know their deck looked impressive in the first game, but I'm confident that their deck is the bad version of the Warp World deck. Mewtwo is very good in Masters League, though. If you want to do Masters League at some point, getting a good IV Mewtwo for Pogo is great. Speaking of, if you enjoy my Pogo content, I posted a battle set on YouTube last night. Playing Alolan, Sandslash, Nidoqueen, and Dragonair. Is it Endurance? They're not playing the Dark Dweller version, Time Lord, if you came in late. They're playing the bad High Rolly version, is what we've been sitting here talking about. So you're right that Endurance would be good against the better version, but even that's going to be pretty bad for us. So I just like play Wild Nacatl here, right? I'm gonna do this, and then we'll pass, and then we'll end step Solitude, Ephemerate, Solitude attack for 3. It gets rid of one of their permanents and it puts pressure into play. It's a little on the aggressive side, but I think we need to be on the aggressive side to win here. And we can decline the rebound here because there's nothing else to exile, and I want to attack for 3. Honestly, Fulminator Mage is a pretty fine pickup here. Means if they brick on their first cascade, we can Stone Rain them. So that way their next cascade is less likely to do something. But I want to fetch up with Harbinger here. So I can't cast Fury. I guess Fury's a decent pickup in case they pop off and they don't get lands, but they get a bunch of creatures. So I can evoke the Fury with the Fulminator Mage. There's a world where evoking Fury is better than playing Fulminator Mage after they brick. It could also be right to just like pick something like Risen Reef to get some card advantage going. Is the card advantage really going to matter, though? Honestly, this choice probably doesn't matter that much. You know, I'm going to just get another Fulminator. I'll make some more Stone Rains will make Twitch chat happy at the very least. I'm unsure what I should get, chat. Should I get the Stone Rain? Alright, good chat. Good chat. It's fine. They're going to put, like, Omniscience Gristlebrand into play, and it doesn't matter. This is one of those matches of Magic that's almost... There's 2 ways you can look at matches of Magic like this in Modern. You can look at them as therapeutic, because the result of the game is completely outside of your control. Or you can look at them as incredibly frustrating. I personally choose therapeutic. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. Hit me, dealer. Survey says, you know, sometimes they put Gristlebrand into play. Yes, but remember, adding cards that roll dice ruined Magic the Gathering. My low variance game was ruined by this Dungeons and Dragons crossover, where rolling dice determines the outcome of what cards do. My good, sweet, pure Magic the Gathering would never have variance like that, chat. Thanks for the 14 months, Nyreed. Good morning, good morning. D20s in my Magic? Sacrilegious. Let the Stone Rains hit the board. Let the Stone Rains hit the board. Let the Stone Rains hit the... Alright, so we've got 8 power in play. Opponent's lifelinking for 7. We get to lifelink with Solitude a little bit here. So they're taking 1, we're taking 4. We're going to be playing Tempered Steel and Historic, so I've got my Attack You Alpha shirt on today. We're going to get a little aggressive. Yeah, Ephemerate's a live draw. Does that fish me anything useful? Omnath can only deal 6. I do get 1 more draw after this. They're gonna hit me to 5. I'll go to 8. Oh wait, if I get Omnath, 4 mana Omnath, I can cast Fulminator next turn, and then Omnath deals 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is that the line? Is the line get Omnath Locust of the Roil and plan to deal 7 to this demon? I think that's the line. So I'm not dead next turn, chat. I'm going to 5, and then this is putting me to 8, and then this is putting me to 1, and then we play Omnath and deal 7. They have something like a Brazen Bar where here we are just dead. Really? Are they playing this as just a blocker? No, they're casting a Glimpse. I mean, okay. Hit me, dealer. Never lucky, chat. Never lucky. All right, one more mid-range deck for the last match, please. One more fair mid-rangey deck for me to eat up. I don't think you could really fix that matchup we just played against with a deck like this. I think you just like cross your fingers, hope they get unlucky, or hope to dodge. I think anything you could do to change it isn't going to end up in a reasonable spot for you. That was remember, like, that was a game where, like, my opponent had 3 permanents in play and lucked into a Gristlebrand, right? We, like, still kind of had a game. The answer is always Chalice for 0. Yeah, I suppose. If you really want a card for that and Living End, you just play Chalice for 0. That's accurate. It's just so narrow. Those decks aren't super popular. I think I'd rather just dodge. Even things like Eidolon, like people, like Chalice is a fine suggestion because you can play Chalice for 0 mana, but like things like Eidolon are really slow. I don't know. The Crashing Footfall decks also haven't been particularly popular. Like the gimmicky decks have not been abound in this format. My experience playing so far, like they exist, but like it's like Modern's always been, right? Like if you really want to dunk on the narrow thing that's not popular, you could put a bunch of, yeah, and our deck's probably good against the Footfall deck because of Solitudes and blockers. And Furies and blockers. So I think people suggest, in my opinion, it would be wrong to put Chalice of the Void in the sideboard of this deck. This is Modern, and whatever deck you hate losing to, be my guest, put whatever shitty, terrible cards in the sideboard you want to play so you don't lose to that anymore. But, like, it's also wrong to knee-jerk make your deck bad against the narrow thing that happens to be good against you. But, like, you know, you want to play this at your local game store, and you know that, like, a third of the room is showing up with the Cascade deck? Sure, put a bunch of Chalices in your board. But in Magic Online, or in a big tournament, no, I would not register Chalice the Void. Standard 2022 makes Standard for the fall look really sweet. It's incredibly sad and frustrating that Standard 22 doesn't have a best of 3 cube. We're having an alright time playing, but my enjoyment of the format would increase significantly if a best of 3 cube was offered. Nah, Hearthstone does something like that, Kid Marsh, and I think it's awful. I think Magic does a fine job of reprinting effects like that when they want them. And I also think that Standard 2022 not having something like Field of Ruin is largely akin to the fact that Standard 2022 right now shouldn't have to be a format, but Wizards of the Coast refuses to make regular Standard fun and interesting, so thus Standard 2022 exists. Like, the lack of an answer in this particular format that we're playing right now, like, is related to the fact that, like, this format wasn't something they planned for. Target Dummy, thanks for the 17 months. Welcome back. You like the hat? Yeah, hat's great. It's got an adorable little Poro here on the front. It's got the League of Legends logo and some things aside. Shout out to Riot Games for the hookup on that one. Riot Games, easily the best company I've ever worked with as a content creator when it comes to people making games. And I've worked with a lot of game companies at this point. What's cooking, opponent? Do I need to be conservative with my life total in this matchup? I don't know that I do. Why am I not a full-time Legends of Runeterra content producer then? Because Legends of Runeterra is not a particularly popular game. It has good core gameplay mechanics, though, which is why, despite the fact that it loses me money to stream Legends of Runeterra on occasion compared to Magic, I still do it because Riot's good to work with as a company, and Runeterra could potentially have a decent future, and I enjoy playing it. So I don't stream Legends of Runeterra as a full-time job, the same reason you don't stream on Twitch and you go into work every day, because I enjoy having a place to live and paying my bills. Recon Bravo team, thanks for the 1.5 years. Welcome back. Bone shards. Yep. Shame Risen Reef doesn't put lands into play untapped. Opponent is out of cards in hand, but Emery with Mishra's Bauble sits here and draws them an extra card every single turn now. So really hoping for a way to kill this or some card advantage of our own here. I mean, honestly, Jin, I've talked about this. I think something that would be good for Magic as a whole is having a second non-rotating format again. Or a second rotating format, sorry. Either something adjacent to block where it's like 2 to 4 sets and it rotates on top of normal standard, or something like extended that's double standard but it rotates. I think either of those would be good for Magic as a game. I also agree that I enjoyed Magic more when we had proper blocks. Their move away from proper blocks made me big sad. It feels like since moving away from proper blocks, Wizards of the Coast has had their formats haven't felt nearly as cohesive to me. We keep getting mechanics that are like kind of interesting, but not nearly fleshed out enough to be decent, right? This is not an elemental. Details. I should play this land first, so that way in case they have Metallic Rebuke. So I have 2 Ephemerates here, so I'm actually going to go ahead and be aggressive and Ephemerate this. I could recast it, but I'd like to keep the extra damage here. So by Ephemerating this stays in play, and I get to go ahead and hit them for 5 here, down to 6. Which means we threaten lethal next turn. Well, I guess I could do this again, but that takes their whole turn, right? Unsettled Mariner has been very good against all these other interactive decks. Taxing all their stuff by 1's been very good. Opponent's got a bunch of cards in hand, but they're super far behind on board. They're just looping another bauble here, which would imply that they don't have a lot to do and they're looking for more, which is nice. So I actually get to ephemerate this Flamekin Harbinger at upkeep, which means I can dig for an elemental of my choice, right? Frank goes, thanks for the 5 months, welcome back. So do I want to give up an attack for 2 in order to draw the elemental I want to draw for the turn? I think so, because they're going up to 9 from the food token anyways. I think we do this, and honestly, I think we just put Omnath 4 on top of the deck, right? Sorry, I should be four color Omnath. You think I want a Locus Roil here? I guess Locus Roil is theoretically lethal. Yeah, okay, let's do that actually. Let's try and kill them this turn. Hey, thanks for the 35 months, Cordemi. Welcome back. So this does 4, and then this does 6, which is 10, and then Ephemerate can blink here as well. Or sorry, this does 3. This isn't an elemental, but that's fine. It's still lethal. And this puts counters on things if I wanted. Which is nice. So Cavern is a card in general I'm not a huge fan of, but I also think Modern is at a point where you need to fight big guns with big guns, and if the format gets to have actual factual counterspell, Cavern of Souls is probably fine. So it's one of those, in a perfect world, I think I'd be happy if it didn't exist, but in reality, where I live, and I look at what's going on in the format, I think it's more than fine. So I don't think this is an endurance matchup, even with their couple of graveyard things. Maybe it is, and I'm just like casting it fairly. I want all of my removal spells for when they find Asmo. Foundation Breaker seems fine. Nah, I don't think it really makes sense for Cavern to be legendary. I don't know. I'd rather they get rid of cards like Memory Lapse rather than escalate Historic and put cards like Cavern in it. I think Aether Vial would be an appropriate power level card for getting around counterspells and creature decks in Historic, but it's a decent voice matchup. It's a little bit grindy. I kind of want these endurance though. If I put 2 of these in and cut the voice. Let's try. I guess this is fine still, right? It gets back all of these. Getting back Foundation Breaker in this matchup seems good. You have an opinion on the Hell's Kitchen decks being a top deck? Are they a top deck? That would be my question back to you is, are the kitchen decks a top deck? Like, was the last Modern Challenge top 32? How many kitchen decks were up there? The kitchen deck just seems like the latest example of people trying to sell other people into the hype and like it being fine, but like pushing that it's busted when it's really just okay. Yikes. It's TBD could also be a reasonable take as well. I'd buy that for $1. We haven't had anything past a Magic Online event. I think it seems sweet. I think when we played it, it generated a bunch of really interesting and unique play patterns, and I enjoyed playing it a lot. But my experience playing against it is pretty far from this deck is overbearing. I actually don't want to cast this Flamekin, huh? I should have just passed with my land up, I think. Looks like 1 food deck in the top 32 the last challenge. Yeah, that was my understanding, is that it hasn't been particularly successful. Yeah, I'm actually just going to fetch this and pass. Are there two modern challenges every weekend? When did that start? Okay, and now in comparison, we talked about health kitchens. How many Mishra's bubbles and other things like that were in the top of whatever? Can you fill me in on how many Mishra's baubles were present and how many Manamorphos? Yeah, the Asmodee decks just reeked to me of people are trying to get hyped on the next big thing and they don't want to risk missing it. 15 on Sunday. Ooh. See, chat, it's not the new fancy Asmo that's the problem. The free spells were coming from inside the house the entire time. The free spells were coming from inside the house the entire time. Alright, so now that we drew running lands, I'm going to drop this Flamekin Harbinger and throw a Risen Reef on top of my deck here. But just taking it nice and slow. Okay, do I just Foundation Breaker now? Also, could we savor the flavor of Foundation Breaker killing Urza's Saga? I feel like killing a land with a card called Foundation Breaker is like really on point. Only one Manamorphose deck? Oh, is blue-red, what's it called? Just not seeing play anymore? Do I Ephemerate here? I think the answer is actually no. The Springleaf Drum's not doing anything, and I'd really like to have the Ephemerate after I have Risen Reef in play. It's getting pushed out by Murktide. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. To have some humble brags here for a minute, while everybody and their mother was losing their mind about Asmo, I'm pretty sure I was the one that was saying Murktide's much better than people were giving credit for. That card was very, very good. Let's play this land out before we cast this. Put that into play. A lot of iteration decks. Yeah, that makes sense. Expressive iteration is very good. Ephemerate was such a big boon for these style of creature decks and matchups like this. It's like a proactive card that also lets you be reactive when being reactive is good. They have like a counter spell here? What are they sitting on? Wow, this is just happening, huh? That's exciting. So I'm going to go ahead and fetch Shock twice here. So I can get some mana. We'll go ahead and Solitude this Emery. The Evoke Design plus Ephemerate feels a little like cheating. I mean, it feels sweet What is in their hand, chat? They have 6 cards, and they've just done actual stone cold nothing this entire game. I mean, I don't even know if Asmo's decent is the thing, Blue Mage. Just a bunch of fatal pushes. I would not be surprised to see a second fatal push here. Okay. Maybe if I'm expecting second fatal push, I'm just supposed to let that one happen. Third fatal push? Dismember? Murderous gun. Okay, so there's like sitting on a giant handful of Doomblades is what's going on over there. Got it. You know what's really good against Doomblade, chat? Reveillark. Reveillark's really good against Doomblade. Also pretty good with Ephemerate. I guess they could have a sweeper. Do I care if they have a sweeper? Lark is a Leaves. Of course Lark is a Leaves play trigger. We played that card with Restoration Angel and Kiki Cord back in the day. This card's great. Opponent just did actual nothing and died. Yeah, so like, the opponent had a handful of removal spells there, and that type of game plan is really atrocious against what our deck is trying to do. Like, we just have so much value. I feel like this deck performed exactly how expectations expected it to go. So we pretty thoroughly dumpstered the other mid-range and control decks, and the high rolly fast combo deck put us in a trash can, and it didn't feel, I guess it was a little close. It didn't feel close because high rolly decks feel bad, but like, you know. So if your format's pretty mid-rangey, I think this is a great choice. And honestly, I think Modern as a whole is pretty mid-rangey right now, which probably makes this a pretty decent choice overall. Anybody know offhand? Anybody import this deck into a digital, into how much does this deck cost in paper? Do I want to know? Someone slap me with reality. Impromptu, thanks for the 20 months. I appreciate it. Welcome back. Hopefully Historic Brawl comes back soon. I agree. It's about $1,200 in paper. All right, let's play some Magic Arena.